Welcome everyone, it's Susie de Jong and this is Masterpiece in Progress, and today I am so thrilled to have with me Lea Schodel, who is the founder of, let me get it right, the Mindful Wealth Movement. And I heard Lea speak at a recent event and I was just instantly drawn to her and her message, and particularly her interests with finances for women. And I thought, I know that a lot of my clients and people that follow me, that's a really big thing for them, especially at this stage of our lives. So I instantly asked her if she'd come along and have a chat. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
It's okay. I'm just going to give a bit of an intro about you. On your website, I looked up, is a motto, I don't know if you call it a motto, is be empowered, take control and create abundance. And I just love that. And that the Mindful Wealth Movement provides financial literacy and support in a way that's distinctively feminine, creative and fun, which is not something I normally would associate with finances and creative and fun. So Lea is not only a financial planner, she's got lots of strings to her bow. She's also a yoga teacher, an acclaimed speaker and author, and I've read quite a few of your articles, and she was also awarded Money Management Young Achiever of the Year for 2016, which is so exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Must have been a big thrill.
It was.
Now, I noticed you have another term. You don't call yourself a financial planner.
No.
What do you call yourself?
A wealth coach.
A wealth coach? I thought you had something else in there.
What else do I call myself?
No, it was something. I'll have to look it up.
What else was it?
I can't remember now. That's all right. I'll have a look and I'll post it, because I'll post a link to your website so people can find out more about you too.
Please, that would be great.
But last time we spoke, last week or the week before, I was explaining to you the sort of women who I work with and the challenges that we have at this age. And I guess it depends what's going on in our lives, the sort of challenges that we might be facing. And you spoke about money stories, and I just wanted you to expand a little bit for everyone what you mean when you say money stories.
Yeah, definitely. So money stories essentially are the stories that we tell ourselves or that we've created as a belief system for ourselves around money. And they can sometimes create these barriers or limitations, or even like a glass ceiling for us. That means that they then dictate how we show up with money, how we use money, and actually our reality with money. And quite often we don't even know we have these stories, because a lot of them have come to us from a very, very young age, through our conditioning, through society, from the parenting we received, and then also from our experiences. So we build on them with experiences with money. So for example, if we have something go wrong with money in our lives, or we've had scarcity around money, then that starts to create this patterning in the story that becomes our reality with money. Very interesting.
So we mightn't recognise it's a story. It's just our reality.
Absolutely. A lot of what happens with our money, the things we believe, the way that we use it, we don't even realise that they are there, because they're sitting under the subconscious. So a lot of what we do with money is driven by our subconscious rather than our conscious.
So what are some of the stories? I'm sure you've heard lots of them. What are some of the more common stories that we have?
So typically, if I just use myself as an example, when I grew up, money was not scarce in my household, but my parents worked really hard to earn money. So there was a belief system or a story that I took on as my own, is that you have to work really hard to have money. Yeah. So that if I didn't work hard, then money wouldn't come to me. So that's sort of one of the belief patterns that I had. I'm sure many of us have had money doesn't grow on trees. That's a very, very strong one that I had when I was growing up as well. I'm just trying to think of some of the other common ones.
Well, I can tell you what mine is. Mine is, you've got to make sure that you have enough money to retire on. That was my father all the time. It wasn't so much enjoy the now. It was think about the future. Yeah. You tend to forget to enjoy the now when you do that, though, don't you?
You do, and it's interesting you say that, because then we recognise how that may have influenced how we're showing up also what we're doing with our money. If we've got that core story or core belief system happening, then everything we do and say and how we act is going to be indirectly following that belief system. So until we can bring those up to our awareness, we can't actually work out whether they're helping us or they're limiting us.
And then we're sharing that with our kids. Unwittingly, unknowingly, exactly. not trying to hurt them, but we're all products of our environment. So it's really important to maybe sit down and write, sit down and think about, well, what were the stories I heard growing up, and put them down on paper so you can at least acknowledge them.
Absolutely. And it's just that, it's about creating awareness, because they may be really helpful, but they may also be quite limiting. And the way to work it out is to just maybe brainstorm some of the things that you constantly say, you hear yourself saying about money.
I can't afford it.
I can't afford it.
My daughter was brought up on that. I look back now and I think, oh gosh.
But we all say it, I can't afford it. We say it, I'm sure we say it to ourselves. We look at those pairs of shoes or that beautiful handbag and say, oh, I just can't afford it. When in reality we could afford it. It's just perhaps that it's not a priority for us at this moment.
That's a good way of putting it. There's also can be a lot of emotions involved when we think about money and finances and security and our future. So how can our emotions affect our relationship with money, and what's the way that we can maybe attach more positive emotions to that?
That's a really good question. The way that we interact with money and how we use money is on 3 levels. So there's what we think, so our thoughts around money, so that's around the money stories and the beliefs. There's how we feel, and that's obviously the emotions that we have with money. And then there's what we actually do. So quite often we'll focus on what we do, so we'll go put a budget in place, but we forget about the fact that we think that budgets suck and that they're really restricted. So we immediately go, and I hate budgets too. I don't.
What do you call it though?
A spending plan. A conscious spending plan.
I wrote that down. Intentional spending plan.
Yeah, conscious, intentional.
That's better than budget, isn't it?
Mindful spending. They're all much more positive than a budget, because immediately, like a diet, we go, oh, restriction. It means I can't have a good life. It means I can't do the things I want to do. I'm going to have to go without. So when we have that mindset, immediately we're setting ourselves up to fail. So we need to retrain ourselves to think, okay, how can I put all the steps in place to actually set me up to succeed, not to fail? So we've got the thoughts and the beliefs, and then we have the action, so creating a mindful or intentional spending plan. But then we need to match it with our emotions. And we know that our emotions will dictate or drive our behavior. So if we're feeling down and we have a tendency to go and then spend money when we're feeling down.
Like comfort spending.
Comfort spending, so it's a thing. It's a thing. Oh, that's why
I thought I'd just coin that. It's like comfort eating, comfort spending. I know a lot of people do that.
Well, it's called retail therapy for a reason.
Well, that's true. Yes,
it's to make you, because we get a bit of a high.
And get the endorphins going.
We do, and we have to really work out how we're feeling whenever we're using money. So if we're someone who tends to use money to make ourselves feel better, then that can have some really negative, I don't want to say bad, but negative impact on our money situation. But likewise, if we have every time we go and pay a bill, if we're really negative about paying bills, then that can also create a really interesting dynamic in our relationship. So just becoming aware of our emotions whenever we're interacting with money can go a long way to helping us with creating a better relationship with it.
That's a great idea. And I don't know if you've ever read Louise Hay books.
Yes.
And the first one I read years ago was she blesses her bills and she thanks them when she opens them.
But isn't that a different mindset?
Yeah. It just takes away that ick.
Yeah, so every time you get a bill and you open it up, you actually are grateful for what it's actually bringing to your life. So if it's an electricity bill, we're going, thank goodness we've got the lights and we've got the electricity. And aren't we lucky that we've got this mobile phone that we can pay for? Rather than getting it and going, oh, a bill. Oh.
Yeah, that's a much better way. So that's a really practical thing that you can put into place. So, well, sometimes it can be just scary thinking about the future, especially when you're like me in your 50s and having enough for retirement and I want to be able to detach myself from that fear and look at it from another perspective. So putting those sort of steps in place that you said, writing down how I feel about money in my retirement is something I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because
I think that's really important point that you bring up. And a lot of the time we're so fearful that we actually just become inactive and we just push it over there, paralyzed by the fear, and just go, you know what, money's just not my thing, or I just feel like I'm completely out of control. And the number one thing when I talk about money and stress is that stress is directly a feeling that comes directly from how out of control we feel. So if we can bring back in control, take back control, we can reduce the stress around money or the uncertainty or the fear. So when I talk to people about the fear of not having enough or the fear of not being able to retire, it's really important that we actually sit down and look at the numbers and then go, okay, from a logical point of view, what do we actually need to do to take back control and to work out how we're going to get to where we're going to get? Because just wishing and hoping, unfortunately, it's not going to get us there. We've got to do something.
Well, whatever it is in life, you have to take action, don't you? And I think you're right. If you can take away that emotion and that fear to the money, because I know I did a poll the other day on my group, and I said, what is the one thing that's stopping you from making a change you want in your life? And the biggest one next to fear was money. And then I kind of wonder, but is that a story you're telling yourself? Because if you really, really want something, and I'm very, once I decide I want something, I'm really quite strong about it. If you really want something that badly, maybe it comes back again to priorities.
It does.
So have a think about that, because don't let things like that stop you from what you want to do.
Absolutely not, because a lot of it is just, as you said, the stories that we tell ourselves that keep us in this little comfort zone, that mean that we won't go out there and achieve. Everything is achievable if we can work it out and put steps in place towards and take action towards making it, just not a wish, but an actual goal and a plan and reality. That's great.
Another thing I come across a lot in my work is that there's a lot of women at this stage of their lives, women watching this 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I don't know, who may find themselves in transition to living on their own, whether it's from, separation of a relationship or a loss in their lives, and they have to start all over again. How would you even know where to begin? I guess that's where you come into play.
It is, and it's a scary space to begin, but I'm a big believer that with change comes a lot of opportunity and a lot of opportunity to rebuild and to refocus and to start thinking, okay, how am I going to create the future that I want? This is an opportunity for me to work out what I want and take some steps towards creating that. So from every point when it comes to money, it's about becoming really intentional and aware of what we're doing and how we can use it towards creating the life that we want. Because money is just a tool. And we can either learn to use it with us or for us, or it can start to control us. So to shift that dynamic, we have to get really friendly with it. And I always have this analogy about being friends with money. And I ask my clients, if money were a person, how would you guys be friends? How would your relationship be? Would you guys be on the same page? Would you be not talking to each other? Would you be scared of her? And it's more just to get an idea about, well, how am I actually showing up with my money at the moment? What is our relationship like? Am I in control of her, or is she in control of me?
That's great,
It's an interesting way to think about it.
It is, and it softens again that fear when you do that, taking away the power of the negative that we attach to money. So if women find themselves on their own, obviously seeing someone like you, like just the overwhelm, I guess, depending on how you're left in that situation. I have a few friends who lost their partners. Some were lucky enough to, have planned ahead, and others, are sort of starting from scratch. So getting someone to sit with you and really work out and nut down what your intentional spending plan together.
Absolutely. Well, the first part would be to work out, what do I want and where am I now? And if there is a difference, how am I going to get there? And the idea around managing money well all stems from your cash flow.
Yeah.
So understanding that we have a certain amount of money, whether it's a lot or a little bit, and that we need to intentionally tell that money where to go so that it works for us in creating that life that we want to live. So when it comes to money and spending is endless. We all know that there is just so many things to spend money on. I mean, we're marketed to on an epidemic level. And when we're not aware, we just end up going, well, where did my money go? But when we're intentional and aware, then we can start to use it to create more wealth or to bring those things that we truly value back into our lives.
Yeah, because when you can get just so caught up in stuff, can't you? I mean, just stuff.
Yeah.
And I know when I was younger and bringing my daughter up on my own, I was fantastic. I always had savings. We had holidays, you know, we never did without. But when I had two incomes and there was more money, I seemed to spend more because it was like, wow, I can buy this now. Yeah. And I think I was actually just in a better position then with my relationship with money because I was more
disciplined and more intentional with it. We have this thing called lifestyle creep. So the more we earn, the more we spend. It's just our nature. Lifestyle creep. You know, we don't buy the $10 bottle of wine. We buy the $15 bottle of wine because we can. Yeah. And that's okay. But it needs to be measured and it needs to be within aligned with our values. So there's a lot of saying to say, don't tell me what you value. Show me your bank account and I can see what you value. And if you're spending money on things that, if you say to me, for example, I really value spending quality time with my family, yet you're buying all of these things, that means that you have to work and work and work and you don't have any free time to spend time with your family. There's a discrepancy between that and your values. And the only key to spending money to buy happiness is if you align it with your values. So if you're buying things that you truly value, then that's one way of creating happiness. But if we're just buying things to acquire them or to fill an emotional void or to make ourselves feel better, then we're not going to ever feel satisfied or content or happy.
That's so interesting.
It is interesting.
And I was just going to say something then and it's totally, but it's come back to me now, sorry, brain freeze. I don't know if you find it too, but I've had people come to me who want my services and then they don't feel that they should be investing that money in themselves. And I sort of think, well, you know, you spend money on your hair, your clothes, your kids, whatever. Why aren't you worthy? You know, I'm sure you get that too when they'll go, well, I really want to do this. I really, you know, am passionate and excited about it. And then when you say, well, are you ready to commit financially in yourself, invest in yourself, it's sort of like, oh no, well, that's no, because I shouldn't be spending that money on myself.
Yeah, and it's hard allowing, I see it all the time and I find it ironic because people want to work on their money or create more wealth, but they can't allow themselves to spend the money with me, to work with me. Yeah. So then it becomes, well, what are the priorities then? Yeah. Does it really matter to you to get ahead or to create wealth or to change your relationship with money? Or are you quite happy to stay where you are? Because when it comes down to the crunch, sometimes it's actually the fear of moving forward that holds us. Absolutely. And we use money or not being able to afford it as an excuse.
And that's exactly what happens with me. Yeah. Because you can see these people really want to get unstuck. Yeah. Whether it's with money or whether it's, you know, you want a different career or a different life, whatever it is. And so they're stuck in that pain still. Yeah. But that's their story. So we all need to look at our stories, people. We do. Because you could be having a wonderful life. If you're not happy, you really need to look at this stuff because sometimes we get in our own way so much, but we don't understand the reasoning behind it. And that's where Lea, you know, talking about identifying our stories is really important. Another thing I wanted to bring up is a lot of the time, and I'm sure you see this, if women are in a relationship with a partner, male or female, doesn't really matter, they let that other person have control of finances.
Yeah.
I know I've done this too, so you know, it's not that it's a bad thing. And they might come to a point where they decide that they want to be more hands-on and they want to share that responsibility jointly, but they haven't done it in the past. What's a good way to start a conversation with your partner to sort of say, hey, you know, how about we share this without them feeling, you know, threatened
or and that's true, because sometimes a partner can feel threatened. They can, if they've been the one looking after the money, and whether it's male or female, it doesn't matter. It's whether they may just go, well, am I not doing a good job, or how come all of a sudden you want to have a look at this? But it's really important, because money is also a form of control, and in relationships we see a lot of financial abuse. I see a lot of it because I work in that area, where one partner uses money to control the other partner.
Okay, yeah.
Or we see it where they don't allow someone to do something, or they don't give them access to different accounts, or they're spending money without the other partner knowing. So we see a lot of that in the work that I'm doing. So it's really important, because money is the #1 cause of relationship breakdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I know from experience, until my husband and I actually started working on our finances together, were we able to have really open conversations about what we wanted to do, because he always said, well, Lee, you're the money lady, you look after the money.
You don't always want to do that, do you?
No.
It's like when you go, I don't know, sorry, when you go to a restaurant with an accountant and everyone goes, you divvy up the bill because you're really good with numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to, I'm not working right now. It's a bit like that. I get home and go, I don't want to do it because I've been talking about it all day. But in reality, it's a joint responsibility, and it shouldn't fall onto one partner and not the other, because it's a resource that you both have. And it's something that you both need to manage so that you can move forward. But it also is important, because if someone passes away, or if someone breaks up, or if someone just, that relationship dissolves, you both need to be present and aware and understand what's happening in the money situation, because it is a source of conflict, and it is a source of a lot of contention if and when relationships break up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's important that the responsibility isn't always on the one person, because that's not fair on that poor person who's trying to manage that money. If things don't go well, why should it be on their shoulders that it's not?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, we need to stop burying our head in the sand and just hope that it's all taken care of. And the other thing I hear is women say, I've got to ask my husband's permission. Oh, I'm a feminist, I'm sorry, I just am. I just think, you know, when you're in a relationship, even if you're a stay-at-home mum or whatever, you know, to have to ask someone permission, just, I find that really hard. But I know some people, that's the dynamics in their relationship.
Yeah, definitely. And the way that I try and, when I work with couples, I'm a big fan of everyone having their own bucket of money.
Yeah.
So we have joint money, and then we have independent money, where we're responsible for our own spending, and we're responsible for wherever we spend that money, without having to answer to the other person for how, or account to the other person for how we're spending it. And then that gives you a sense of independence, but it also gives you that freedom to spend money without asking for permission. And I don't see anything wrong with having separate money.
No, well, my husband and I always have.
Yeah, we do too. And he can spend it however he likes. And I can spend it on as many lattes as I want, and maybe glasses of wine. But anyway.
No, that's great. Now, I've read one of your articles. I think it was in Financy. Is that your latest one?
Yeah.
That was, some scary statistics. But I think this is really important to talk about. You know, this is why I have these sort of shows where we bring up this stuff that we don't talk about, but we really, really need to. And you're going to be shocked at some of these statistics. And we're talking about Australian women here. I'm not going to read all of them. More than half stated that they find dealing with money to be stressful and overwhelming. Well, that's not surprising. But some of them were just really scary. Research shows that women are almost twice as likely than men to have had to seek financial help or borrow money from family and friends. Women are twice as likely than men to be unable to pay for medical expenses and are more likely to have gone without food due to lack of finances. More than 30% of women stated that they'd be unable to cover their expenses for more than 1 month without increasing their debt levels, compared to 17% of men. Approximately 50% of women have less than 2 months' income in savings. And this was the scariest one, especially for me. Around 90% of women are likely to retire with inadequate savings to fund a comfortable lifestyle in retirement, and 1 in 3 will have little or no super at all. Now find that last one. Well, superannuation guarantee came in, it was the late 80s, wasn't it? Because I can remember when that started. And thank God for that, because I never contributed. And then I was lucky to work for a company who paid above that as well. So, but wow. So this is why I wanted to speak to Lea, because this is, you know, just that frightened me when I read that.
I mean, that's something that I'm really driving to try and change, is because women, typically we're in and out of the workforce because we're having children or we're looking after other people, other family members. We are always putting ourselves last. So then when it comes to earning money, we also earn less than men. So our rates not only are not consistent, but then they're actually less, based on less rates than what our male counterparts are earning. And then also, to date, a lot of the financial literacy and the language and everything has been aimed towards men. So it's very left-brained, it's very logical, it's very black and white, and it's not very soft and feminine. It doesn't talk about emotions and behaviours. It's all around, these are the actions you need to take to get ahead. And that just does not resonate with a lot of women. And having worked in the industry for almost 16 years, I used to start to see clients, and even as a financial planner, I would sit in as a junior financial planner with, and the male financial planner would talk to the husband and not talk to the women. And I'm sitting there saying, this isn't right. This is wrong. This is, why is this happening? And the more research I did and the more that I started to understand and work with female clients, I understood that we look at money differently from men. And that's good. But there's not a lot out there that caters for that. So we're starting to see websites like Finance You come up with, which is for women. It's a blog all for managing money for women. And other initiatives, even from the big banks, that are coming through to support women to create more superannuation savings, or to have the courage and the confidence to go and seek some financial advice.
That's great.
So there are a lot of ways that women can get advice and take action. It doesn't have to be to see a financial planner. If you're seeing a financial planner, make sure they're independent. So even the word independent's a bit loose, but they're not aligned to a product. It's important. So they're
like
not
with a bank, I'm not allowed to say that, or something like that.
I just think just understand where their biases are. And there are certain influences, but there's also other things. If you're just needing coaching, there's lots of coaches out there that can help with either money stories, or with action, or keeping you accountable, or with spending. But there's also lots of free resources available that we can
the internet.
I know, it's a magic. So I guess my number one thing is we need to prioritize it in our lives. If we want a different financial future, we've got to prioritize our current financial situation and then go, okay, what can I do today to create a more positive outcome?
So because we've got to really, you know, it just comes back to that action again. And I know it can be overwhelming, but this is why we have, you know, good on you doing this for women. I just think it's wonderful, because it's kind of like buying a car when you're a woman. You know, like I think there's a few women now who've actually started services like that to help women, because, you know, we can't, if you want to be treated with, you know, respect and that you're an intelligent person, you can't just bury your head in the sand. You've got to start taking responsibility for yourself.
You do, and it's not rocket science.
No.
It's about, you know, in order to manage money well, we need to manage ourselves well. So what we think, how we feel, and what we actually do, we need to really focus on those thoughts, emotions, and the actions, all three of them, and we can start to create a better relationship with money.
And teach our kids.
Yes. Definitely.
Teach our daughters, or if you don't have kids, you know, women, younger women that you come into contact with, or if you're a teacher, whatever it is, you know, working with girls, because they watch us.
They do.
And I
And
think
they
we have
probably
a
got it
responsibility
harder too, because they don't have cash and they don't have a relationship with the bank. So for this younger generation coming through in the future generations, it's going to be more difficult to teach them to have a healthy relationship with money, when money is this object which isn't even tangible or real.
It's true. I haven't thought of it like that.
It's going to be much harder.
It is. Now, you have an absolutely wonderful social enterprise that you talked about, and I'd love you to share it with everyone. I think it's well done, you. That's just amazing. And I'd just like you to talk a bit about it and how people can find out more too.
Yeah, definitely. So my social enterprise is under the Mindful Wealth movement, and it was designed to give all women access to financial literacy and coaching and support, because often these programs are run just for women who have money. So I'm really keen to expand that and give everyone the opportunity. So we offer scholarships to our programs, which can all be applied through online. So if you feel that this is calling to you and yet you don't have the financial resources to support you to go and get assistance at this stage, we do have scholarships as well. And we run community-based programs for women who are vulnerable women. So whether that be through financial abuse or just a really significant change in their situation which has left them at risk, then we also run a lot of community workshops for them as well.
Fantastic. And obviously they're just in Queensland.
Yes, at this stage.
You have online programs as well? Yeah.
So I have an online 6-week course that I run, and then we also just do online workshops occasionally as well. I run overseas retreats and onshore retreats and a whole myriad of programs.
Busy lady.
I am. I love being busy.
Just going back from India. I think I saw you a couple of days afterwards.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put a link to all of this, and I just think that's so wonderful, because we take things for granted that we can go out and buy things and afford this and that, but not everyone can, and I think that's just amazing. Please take it to schools.
I'd love to. I'd actually love to take it to university level, where girls are particularly just starting to earn income, trying to find themselves. So to really try and understand that we don't need to use money as a tool to make ourselves feel better, and that we can have a relationship with it to start to build healthy behaviours with it to set ourselves up for the future from a young age. Because all of the women that I work with now, it's about how do we almost fix what this patterning
fix
is.
What's broken.
Yeah, where I'd love to go in at the start and say, well, how about we be more proactive and work from this end too? So I'm going from both.
I might get my daughter to do one.
I'd love to.
That'd really benefit her.
Yeah.
I could just talk to you for ages, but
me too.
I'm sort of, I guess we better wrap up, but I ask all my guests this question.
Okay.
Lea, what does the term beautifully selfish mean to you?
Oh, I love that. I love that so much, because so often we see selfish as being a negative. And you know, I don't think it's negative at all, particularly as women, because we are innately built to be giving.
Yes.
And we're always giving to others to make sure that everyone else is okay. So for me, beautifully selfish is about going, hang on, I'm worth it. And I'm going to prioritize my own needs so that my cup is not full, but it's actually overflowing, which means that I can give more.
Yes.
So that's, to me, what it means.
Wonderful. That's exactly what I intended when I called it that, to take away the negative power of selfish and put it with the beautiful.
I love it. It's a beautiful combination.
It is.
It is.
Thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm sure you would have got something out of this today. And as I said, I'll put links to Lea's website, Lea, Lea.
Okay.
And you can find out more about her and her beautiful cause. And thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.